In 2004, the Higher Education Institute at UCLA found that adults who attended college were almost 10% more likely not to believe in God or a higher being. To better understand how collegiate culture affects religious beliefs, we decided to talk with some current and recently graduated college students who grew up in a Christian household to see how attending university affected their faith.
I would consider myself Catholic. It's a very, very intense form of Christianity, and it has a lot of rituals along with it, such as receiving the Eucharist and the blood or wine. So my father was not that devout, which is why I was raised Catholic along with my siblings. My mom is one of 9 and comes from a southern town in Dallas, Texas. So my mom was very, very devout and still is to this day.
So the denomination I was raised in was Southern Baptist. Have you ever heard of the Bible Belt? It's the Baptist of the South. Very, very harsh against drinking. I would say that's almost more important to most Southern Baptists than actual belief in Christianity or just belief in Jesus Christ. Growing up, my religious experience, the environment around me was pretty intense, I'd say. We were a type of family that would go to church probably 3 times a week, normally growing up, and that was kind of a very strict thing. You didn't really have much of a say in the matter unless you were sick or something like that. Yeah, I'd say it was very intense.
I was raised a non-denominational Christian, which essentially means we don't affiliate with subcategories of Christianity, such as being a Baptist Christian, and we follow the general principles of Christianity, whereas a Baptist Christian might follow slightly different ideals or principles of Christianity. So my dad was a very devout Baptist Christian. He was raised in West Point, Mississippi, and as you can imagine, it is a very religious community that he grew up in. My mom was raised Catholic, and she was definitely less religiously affiliated than my father was. I don't think my experience I would qualify as like intense growing up as a Christian. We went to church every Sunday. My parents had us go to some Bible studies when we were younger, but I mean besides that, I wouldn't qualify as an intense. God was always there. So
Before I attended college, I would say I was a little bit more spiritual because I was still living at home. So now that I've been exposed to a lot of things, being in college, being a junior, I definitely believe in a higher being and I respect the Catholic teachings, but I definitely don't agree with a lot of it now that I've been exposed to a lot more things. I definitely am pro-choice and not pro-life, and I think that's a huge thing, especially in the Catholic Church. I also know that premarital sex is a large issue, and back in the days that everything was written, people would get married at 12 and 13, not at 25 or 30, and I think it's very outdated, so I have issues with that.
So how the culture of college has changed me spiritually? I would say it's changed my idea about what it means to be a Christian, whether that's what a lot of people believe is a checklist. I go to church, I pray every day, those kind of things, where now I think it's more about how you affect other people and your personal relationship and your beliefs. I found a lot of people through growing up, I kind of grew away from their ideologies. Just about every single person around me growing up, very against homosexuality and just homosexual relationships, and I don't see it really as a problem as those people do.
So there are many beliefs that I've struggled with that my parents have raised me to believe. One of them being that if you're not Christian, you go to hell. I also struggle with homosexuality and having to declare that as sin in order to be saved as a Christian, and having to denounce yourself in something that biologically you are in order to be saved. One of the biggest things for me as Christianity and as a believer is come as you are. You don't have to change for God. You are imperfect, and that's part of Christianity, and that's part of who we are as human beings. So you shouldn't have to change to be loved by the Father.
I'd just like to say that no matter who you are out there, there are people within the religious system that accept you for what you are, who you are, and you're not alone out there. You are loved. And I don't think the message gets out there enough that you're loved even though you don't fit the mold as some person would want you to.